well up until now? Excellent question, right? Well, so I wouldn't look too bad, I decided to go through my list. How I ever had the nerve to do that, I don't know, but I did. I went through the whole list. The government, taxes, prices, everything. He was very patient, and let me go through it all. When I finished, he looked over my list very carefully and said, "Mr. Rohn, big problem with your list. You aren't on it." How brilliant. And how true. When I went to work for him a few months later, I learned very quickly to tear up my list of reasons for not looking good and threw it away. And then I got a fresh piece of paper, and I put one word on it. Me. There's a Black Heritage spiritual that says, "It's not my mother nor my father, nor my brother nor my sister, but it's me, O Lord, standing in the need of prayer." See, I used to blame everything outside for my lack of progress, until I found the problem was inside. For a big share of my life, I kept looking for the answers to do well outside, and I found out the answers were inside. Success is not something you pursue. Success is something you become. What are you going to do starting today that will make a difference in how your life works out? What are you going to do? See, if you don't do something starting today that will make a difference, guess what? It's going to be the same. And you can guess what the next 5 years are going to be like. Just look at the last 5. The next 5 years will be like the last 5 unless you, Major Key, make all the changes. Now sometimes, for some people it will continue, but sure enough, here's where it usually levels off. If there are no more exams to take, if there's no demand to get out paper and pencil, why read any more books? Now you will just learn by some experience, just getting out there and by doing it wrong and doing it right and stumbling around. You learn some. But can you imagine what would happen if you kept an accelerated learning curve all the rest of your life? Can you imagine what you could learn to do, the skills you could develop, the capacities you could have? So here's what I'm asking you to do. Be that unusual person who keeps up his learning curve. Succeeding in life is not usual. It's unusual. You need to develop some unusual habits to earn the outstanding rewards.
This is not for everyone. This is not for the faint at heart. This is for people who have goals and dreams they want to achieve.
Sometimes we look at pieces in our lives that don't make sense. The key is what we do in our times of pain. Pain will change us. Every painful time, even though you don't like it, it's developing something in you that can only be developed in the tough times.
You have got to change the way you think. It is the whole determining factor of where you go in life. We are all where we are today because we thought ourselves to this position. If you don't like the position, think yourself out of it.
If you want to be an impactful personality, you have to develop certain types of thinking and perceptions that change the way you see yourself and see the world. I call this the spirit of leadership.
Being able to watch something grow very calmly, patiently. I can't go any faster. We do that to our brain. We put a governor on our brain. The second we feel pain, discomfort, suffering, all those words that we hate to say because we're in this happy, peaceful world we live in now, we stop. We slow down. And if you can get through these different barriers and gain 5%, 2%, 3%, that 40% becomes 60. That 60% becomes 70, 80, and 90. And then you'll hopefully one day near 100. That dreamer mentality just would always fuel me. It would just fuel me, man. What if I can be a SEAL, man? Now I run 205 miles. What if I can go? What if I can go? And what if, how would that feel? You have to go into those dark chambers that we often shut off, and you got to open them up.
Book, you tell people to make a list of everything working against them, every real, valid excuse.
Right.
Why do you have them do that?
There's a lot of power in that list. So in that list of who you are, what makes you up, all these other things, it goes back to, once again, accepting. You have to first accept it before you can fix it. A lot of people walk around, oh man, I'm good. I'm good. No, you're not. You have to accept what you're not. You have to, and people don't want to do that. And that's the only way you can fix it. You have to accept it first before you can go on the journey. A lot of folks never even start the journey, man. They never start the journey because they're living this fake life that who they want to be, they act like they are, but they're not because they haven't fixed all this stuff yet. You got to fix this first before we can start our journey in life. So that's why I have them make this list. You fix these problems, now your journey can begin because you no longer care about how people are judging you. When you care more about how someone's judging you, you're going to stay right there. There's no forward momentum. So that's the whole thing about that list.
Nelson Mandela is a particularly special case study in the leadership world because he is universally regarded as a great leader. You can take other personalities, and depending on the nation you go to, we have different opinions about other personalities. But Nelson Mandela, across the world, is universally regarded as a great leader. He was actually the son of a tribal chief. And he was asked one day, "How did you learn to be a great leader?" And he responded that he would go with his father to tribal meetings. And he remembers two things when his father would meet with other elders. One, they would always sit in a circle. And two, his father was always the last to speak.
The scripture says the spirit of faith is in our words. When you say, I am blessed, I have favor, I'm coming out of debt, angels go to work. Good breaks will find you. The right people will track you down. And you can think positive. You can believe for favor. That's good, but nothing happens till you speak. The miracle is in your mouth. There is healing in your mouth. There is freedom in your mouth. There are new levels in your mouth. If you're fighting an illness, it's easy to talk about the medical report and how bad it looks. And I don't think I'll ever get well. When you speak that, you're calling in more sickness, more defeat. You need to change what you're saying. The scripture says, let the weak say, I am strong. It doesn't say, let the weak talk about the weakness. Let the weak call 5 friends and discuss the problem. That's giving life to the negative. Now, I'm not asking you to deny the facts. Just say what God says about you. Your report should be, God is restoring health back into me. The number of my days He will fulfill. My mother wouldn't be here today after being diagnosed with terminal cancer in 1981 if she had not done this. It's not enough to just not say anything negative. You have to be on the offensive. All through the day, I would hear her quoting scriptures. When somebody asked how she was doing, it was never a sad song. It's hard. I don't understand it. I'm tired. Her report was, I am healed. With long life, God will satisfy me. What He started in my life, He's going to finish. She didn't feel healed. She felt weak, but she said, I am strong. The medical report said she was done, but she said, I will live and not die. She got in agreement with God and released the miracle in her mouth. 38 years later, she's still alive and healthy. Are there miracles in your mouth waiting to be released? Joel, when I break this addiction, then I'll tell people I'm free. You have to tell them first. Every day you need to declare, I am free, I am clean, this addiction does not control me. Every time you say, I am free, in the unseen realm, chains are broken. Strongholds are loosed. Freedom starts heading your way. You keep speaking it, and you will become what you're saying. You are prophesying your future. When David faced Goliath, a giant twice his size, it wasn't a coincidence that he looked at him and said, this day I will defeat you and feed your head to the birds of the air. He wasn't just being positive. He wasn't just talking smack. He understood this principle. The miracle was in his mouth. He had to release the victory. What if he would have said, wow, I thought I wanted to face Goliath, but look how big he is. I don't have any armor. I don't feel qualified. I don't think I have a chance. If he would have talked defeat, we wouldn't know who David was. If he would have just thought positive, I believe I can do it. I believe I've got what it takes. He wouldn't have defeated Goliath. He knew he had to speak it. I will defeat you. You may have a giant in your path, a giant of debt, a giant of depression, a giant of sickness. Like David, you need to announce to that giant, I will defeat you. You will not keep me from my destiny. The forces that are for me are greater than the forces that are trying to stop me. The scripture says, if any two of you agree, anything you ask according to God's will, it will be done. There's power in agreement. What's interesting is David didn't have anyone to agree with him. His brothers looked down on him, thought he was too small. His father saw him as less than, like he'd never amount to much. King Saul didn't think he had a chance. He even tried to give David his armor so at least it wouldn't be so painful. Nobody was there to encourage David, to say, hey, David, you can do this. We believe in you. You've got what it takes. There are times, like with David, you can't find anyone to agree with you. But I've learned if you'll come into agreement with yourself, if you'll get your heart and mouth in agreement and start speaking victory, declaring that you are well able, that you are blessed, that you will defeat the addiction, then even though others don't agree, because you're in agreement with yourself, you will see giants defeated. You will accomplish dreams that others thought were impossible. Now don't be discouraged because nobody is cheering you on and nobody sees what you see. Sometimes God puts things in your heart that other people don't understand. Seems too big, too impossible. Instead of encouraging you, they'll do just the opposite. You think you can beat that sickness? I don't know. My grandmother died of the same thing. You still think you're going to have a baby? After all these years, you're kind of getting up there. You really believe you can build that orphanage, write that book, lead your company in sales, move into that nice neighborhood? I just don't see it. The good news is they don't have to see it. You don't need them to agree with you. Come into agreement with yourself. Get your heart and words going in the right direction. Start talking like it's going to happen. You have to say it before you'll see it. When David went out to face Goliath, all the Israeli army and all the Philistine army were watching. Here was this teenager with no military training, no experience, young, small, looked like a boy. In front of all of them, he had the audacity to say with confidence, Goliath, I will defeat you. Some of them made fun, ridiculed. Even Goliath laughed and said, am I a dog that you'd come at me with a stick? Sending this little boy, is that all you've got? The people around you may not see the greatness in you. They'll judge you by the outside, by your size, your experience, your background, your nationality. Don't let them talk you out of what God put in your heart. Do like David, keep speaking.